is Psychic Medium Angelo, joined as always by the guru, the Encyclopedia Britannica of Pro Wrestling, Jeff the Ref Robinson. And you have joined us once again for Wrestling with the Future. And tonight, you joined us on a very special night. This is our special holiday edition. It's the old school edition. Back in time.
Yeah, we're going to pick right here.
So how you doing, brother? I haven't talked to you in a little while.
Oh, I'm doing really good. How about you, Angelo?
Look at me. I'm ready for the season. Look, I got my. I'm gonna give you the whole. Here you go. Check this out.
I love it. I'll tell you what. I would wear one if they made them in my size, but unfortunately they don't. So I
think they may have one.
Right. Well,
one.
They I'll tell you, been getting ready for the holiday, getting ready for Christmas, doing our, shopping and last minute, years and theirs and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
Kind of hard to, I'll tell you what, man, it's been raining and nasty. It's been kind of hard to get in the mood here lately, here in Virginia.
Let me tell you something. It's been nothing but water for days.
And it kind of is depressing almost, like.
It's very different, and it's cold. It's a cold rain. What are you guys getting down there? Cold?
Oh, right now where it's warm. It's like a warm rain. So it's like
no, man, not here. It's cold.
I'm at 61 degrees, and I'm honestly contemplating putting on my AC just to cool it off a little bit in my room right now.
Let me tell you how cold it is. If it were 5 degrees cooler, we'd have snow. For real, straight up.
Oh man, I know now. I got friends out in Missouri, and they just got hit hard with some good snow out there in St. Louis way. So
yeah, sure did.
But it's funny is like when people that are used to it get it, they're kind of like, it's crappy, I hate it, but whatever. And other people who don't get it, like us here in Virginia, we may get a good snowfall every couple of years. And when I say good, 8 to 10 inches.
Yeah.
But then the thing that sucks is when that happens, they're shutting everything down. I mean, just
lived in Tennessee, right, for like 12 years. They get like a half-inch dusting, and the whole state shuts down.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
I'll tell you what.
I grew up walking to school 20 miles in the snowbanks uphill barefoot, okay?
There you go.
So that's nothing to me. So what happened in wrestling this week? Let's get right into it.
This week in wrestling, nothing. I mean, I think everybody's kind of laying low right now just because of holiday, getting ready to the new year, getting ready to kick everything off. We did have TLC, the WWE's pay-per-view was this weekend. We're coming out of it. Kairi Sane, who's a partner of Asuka, she came out injured, and they don't know if she had injuries prior to it, but they did say she did get knocked out at one point. They don't know if she got concussed.
Yeah.
So that does, that's always a scary thing when, I mean, just really quick, I know that we're not trying to dive into all the results or whatever, but that's a scary thing when you do those style matches, and especially with women. And the girls, they can go. They can do it, but I'm not saying that the men's bodies are made to go through a table, but I mean, 125 pounds is not meant to get slammed through a table versus a 250 man.
Jeff, I'll tell you what, I put the blame squarely on whoever agented that match. I have to.
Well, and you know what? I agree with you. I was going to say, but
she was out on her feet.
Well, but I was going to say, God bless her for being able to get through the match, and it shows how professional the other girls were, Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and even Asuka, to work around it. They knew she was gone. They knew she was gone too.
Yeah.
And, I mean, part of me, and I haven't seen. I guess I'll say this: it'll be interesting to see what comes of this in the next couple of weeks. Because me wonders, is the referee slightly to blame for not calling the match?
Yeah.
And if you don't call the match, order it as a handicap match, whatever, you go on the fly. But the NWA had their very first pay-per-view over the weekend.
Right.
And
what kind of numbers? What kind of numbers?
Numbers?
Yeah.
I don't have any on the NWA yet. I have not seen
Okay.
it.
Nothing out yet? Okay.
Because, well, they didn't do traditional pay-per-view. They did the streaming pay-per-view on Fight.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, you could go and buy the pay-per-view tonight and watch it.
Yeah.
So, from all indications, that they seem pretty happy with what they have for their initial, pay-per-view night. And then Saturday was also down in Tennessee. They did a night of appreciation for Bobby Eaton.
Yeah.
For
those people that are listening to us and watching on YouTube that don't know, Bobby is he's not in the best of shape these days, and a benefit was held for him to raise not only awareness but money. We should also say that the same kind of benefit was held for Dennis Condrey.
Yeah, they did.
I believe he had cancer. Is he in remission?
He did. He had throat cancer and he beat it. And
that's what we hear.
And we're glad that he did, and happy that he was able to beat that, and put the pin on it. And but Bobby's been, Bobby, he does. I mean, it's no hidden fact. I mean, I'm not talking out of school. There ain't nothing that isn't out there, so I'm not saying anything that isn't known.
Right.
He is on a pacemaker. He does have diabetes. He's been in and out of the hospital with different issues with his health, and he's just had a rough go of it. And for everything that man has done and accomplished in the business, he deserved to have a night of appreciation and some money raised for him.
Absolutely. Well, we send our best out to beautiful Bobby Eaton. We have a special guest tonight.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to get him on here. So just to let everybody know, this is, as I said, this is the old school edition. We had to pay homage to us guys. And we have a guy on tonight who has quite a story. He's got quite a history, too.
Yeah, he is old school.
They sure is. And his name is Davey O'Hannon.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to bring him on.
I'm really looking forward to this one because he's a...
And we are live with Davey O'Hannon. Davey, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Terrific, my friend. Say hi to Jeff the Ref Robinson, my partner in crime.
Hey there. How are you doing, Davey?
We're having a tough connection here, it seems.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. A little scratchy, that's all.
Oh, that's actually kind of maybe my voice a little bit, too. I'm a little bit grovelly.
Maybe Jeff's voice. So, Davey, how are you, my friend? How are you, brother?
I mean, I'm hearing noises from you guys, but it sounds very far away.
I'll tell you what, let's try to reconnect with him, yeah.
Yeah, we'll call you.
Let me try to reconnect with Dave. I'm going to call you right back.
Okay, I'll be here.
You got it.
All right. Hey, beauty of doing things live. That's proof that we are live, folks, right here. Angela's calling him back. Let's see what happens.
We are getting him on the phone.
I think it's too far away.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he picks up.
Well, maybe hang up and try him one more time here.
Forwarded to an automatic voicemail.
All right. Hey. Okay.
9 7.
Whoa. There we go. Hey, make enough noise and I could cover up the phone number.
We're going to bleep that out.
Yeah. Edit.
Let's try one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, give that one a try.
There. How about that, Davey?
That sounds a little better.
There we go. Terrific. All right, we got him back.
All right, sounds good.
We got him back. Terrific. Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear, brother. Loud and clear.
Wowie. Wow.
Can you hear me okay?
Okay, guys, let's try that again here. I even changed phones, see what we could do.
Okay, why don't you call in to us, Dave?
Boy, oh boy. Try it again, Angelo. What do we say?
Okay, let's give it a shot. Maybe.
There we go. I can hear you clearly now.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, then we're going to do this old school. Okay, you got it, brother.
All right.
Much better then, huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you hear
terrific.
me okay? Can you hear me okay, Jeff? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think you can.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, good. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that you could hear us all right.
Yeah, I'm like I said, it sounds a little distant, but I am catching you guys here, so.
All right, terrific. Well, we are joined by former WWWF, WWF mainstay talent, a guy who has been around the territory system for a very, very long time. I first became aware of Davey O'Hannon around 1975, but Davey, I know your career started, I'm thinking around 71, maybe 72. Is that about right?
Yeah, 72 is when I had my first match.
1972. You remember your first opponent, brother?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it was a fellow named Joe Scarpello. It was in Kansas City territory. Joe was a little guy. I just got done playing football in college and decided to give the wrestling. Well, I always wanted to, but I decided to give it a try. So I was about 260 pounds. I was in pretty good football shape. And Joe Scarpello was a smaller guy, about 5'9", about 210 pounds. Although the part I didn't know is that he was a former NCAA and AAU champ. So Davey got his first wrestling lesson in 1972 from a little guy named Joe Scarpello.
So did he stretch you a bit?
He really tied me up. He didn't hurt me. You know, he let me know that he could have when he wanted to.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. You know, and back then the business was different. You didn't get smartened up right away. You know, you did I did on the job training. That's how it was done.
Yeah, sure.
And that was a closed shop, man. You didn't just walk into the wrestling business because you had a pair of tights and a pair of wrestling shoes. You had to earn their trust, and you had to let them know that you were really an athlete. You know, I was an amateur wrestler, so that was a plus for me. I could at least protect myself.
And where'd you go to school?
I went to school in Missouri.
Oh, okay. Now, you originally an East Coast guy, Davey?
Yeah, I grew up in a town called Colonia, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Jersey boy.
Yep,
You're one of my paisans.
that's right.
Paisans. Now, I want people to know when Davey speaks of Joe Scarpella, that's not Joe Scarpa, who you might know as Chief J Strongbow. Entirely different guy.
Yeah, Joe Scarpello was an old territory guy. You know, he'd been around quite a few years by the time I ran into him. But boy, oh boy, was he good. Was he good.
Yeah, he sure was. You know, I remember, like I said, I first became aware of you around 75, and I'll tell you where it was and when it was. It was Madison Square Garden. And it was the Battle of the Fighting Irishmen, Irish Pat Barrett versus Irish Davey O'Hannon.
Yeah, was a guy I actually watched as a kid. You know, I was a fan before I got into the wrestling business, and Pat Barrett was a guy that I actually watched and cheered for, and got all excited seeing him. So part of the special part for me, being in that business, was I got to be in the business when so many of the guys that I watched as a kid were still active. So it was a dream come true. I wanted to be a wrestler. That's all I ever wanted to do. And then I got to be in the business and become friends and peers with the guys that I watched.
Now, I got a quick question.
Remarkable. Yeah, Jeff the Ref has a couple questions for you, Davey.
I'm just...
Go ahead.
Now, Davey, I got to ask, I'm assuming, but are you by birth Irish, or was that like a gimmick given to you?
What? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry with this connection, but could you repeat that, Jeff?
I said, are you legit Irish, or was that name like kind of the gimmick given to you by the
Well, here we're gonna blow part of the Irish gimmick here. I'm half Irish.
All right.
And the other half, I'm sure that Angelo will talk about, is Italian.
I kayfabed him on it. I didn't say anything.
Hey,
my name is actually Hannon. I guess when the ancestors came over, it was O'Hannon. And I changed it to, I didn't change my name, but I started using O'Hannon. And when Vince McMahon Sr. saw that, he was all excited. He liked it. So whatever Vince Sr. wanted is what happened, and that's what we kept.
I heard he loved anything Irish.
He what?
I heard he loved anything Irish.
Yes, he did.
The story behind Hulk Hogan, his real name is Bolea. He's actually, I'm going to blow kayfabe. Okay, here you go. Hulk Hogan is half French, half Italian.
Yep, that's right.
People don't know that. The Hulk is half Italian, half French.
And then Vince Sr. brought him in and made him Irish.
He made him a red-headed Irishman.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
I got a quick question for you, Danny.
When Hogan first came in.
Did you ever get the chance to face Andre the Giant?
To do what? I'm sorry?
To face
Andre. Get the opportunity to face Andre.
Oh, yeah, about 1 million times.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I was, and because I was a territory guy, don't forget, Andre worked in all the territories.
Right.
Promoters would rent him, and he'd go and work in all the territories because, for the week or two that he stayed in a territory, it would just blow the attendance records up for those people. So, not only did I know him, I was really close friends with him. Andre was a wonderful guy, a generous guy. And not only was I friends with him here in New York, we'd get to meet each other on the road. We get to meet each other on the road. I did a couple of tours of Japan with Andre. He came down to Texas when I was down there. Where else? I think he was in Puerto Rico twice when I was there. So, Andre was all over. Yeah, Andre was a unique guy to work with. The deal was you did whatever Andre felt like doing. That's what you did.
Yeah. Dave, explain to people that are listening now that are completely unfamiliar with the way swapping out talent used to work back in the territory days, because that's virtually unheard of. In fact, it never happens anymore.
And explain to them what?
Explain to them the necessity of swapping out talent in the territories.
Oh, well, yeah. You had to do that, and the reason is that you wore yourself out, business-wise, if you stayed too long. And you know what? The wrestling fans then were different. The fan base was different. The fan base now, and I don't know. I don't go to matches. I don't watch it on television. I'm kind of removed from everything. But the fans from when I started, well before me, and then until I was done, they were invested in the story that we were telling. They were invested in the story, and what happened was when you got to the end of the story. When you got to the end of the story, whether it was, Davey getting beat or Dusty doing something or a loser leave town match was in different territories, they use that. You had to move along. You had to move along because you wore out your run. You wore out your run. Now some guys could stay. You had a guy like Bruno. Whoever got tired of seeing Bruno? Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. But you know what? And this is not a knock, but you had a guy like Ultimate Warrior, who I didn't know really well. I mean, how many times are you going to watch this guy shake that top rope?
No kidding.
I mean, there's only so much of that you could do. But you don't get sick of a guy like Dory Funk Jr. because Dory Funk showed you a wrestling match every single night.
Oh my God, absolutely.
I think what
Dory Funk was, you know what? I was lucky. I got to work. I worked in the NWA. I worked in the WWF. So I really got exposed to all different kinds and styles of work. And that's how I learned. If you had a good attitude, what you did was when you had a minute, you went and watched the match.
Yeah.
You peeked out the dressing room door or behind a curtain or found some place to sit and watch different things. If you watch a guy like Dory Funk or Terry, Jack Briscoe, everybody had a little bit of style. So if you were smart, you stole a little something from anybody and try to work it into your repertoire and make yourself better.
One of the things, David, that I always try to impart to these kids if they bother to listen to the wisdom of this old fart here is the emotional investment, not only in the storyline, but in the personalities.
Oh yeah.
When did that disappear? When did it all go away? I'm still trying to figure that out.
About 2000.
Started to go away with rock and wrestling. That's about when I was finishing up, and it became an extravaganza. It became a big production, and what happened was that the promoters saw maybe a younger fan base that liked instant gratification. Boom, some pyrotechnics, some music, crazy things in the ring. Whereas on the other hand, if I was working in Amarillo, I was doing the same towns week after week. So I didn't show the people everything on the first night. I didn't show them everything. If I was working with Dory Funk, listen, I did 45 minutes with Dory Funk in Albuquerque one night.
Wow.
And
that's incredible.
All Dory Funk did was take a headlock.
Yeah.
That's it. Think about that.
This guy worked a headlock on me.
Yeah.
The people were going crazy.
It's unheard of. Think about Johnny Valentine. Johnny Valentine would pull an arm bar on you.
And Johnny Valentine, now I never worked with him, and I'm lucky I got to meet him, before he passed away. I got to know. Johnny Valentine could start a riot with the expression on his face.
Yes.
Well,
it's funny.
Johnny Valentine,
I was going to go there.
Valentine used to have the saying of, they may not believe the rest of it's real, but they believe I'm real.
Works with a mask. There's very few guys that were super successful with a mask on because it takes your expression away. It takes the expression away. If you don't have expression, you can't show people different emotions. And you have to do that. You have to do that.
Right.
That's why. So I worked with a mask a little bit. I mean, I hated it. It was Vince's idea, and we did that. But Johnny Valentine was a master, and you know what? There was something that his son said. Greg said one night. I don't know where we were. The people believed what we were doing, because we believed what we were doing.
It's been said, Davey, that Johnny would tell people, I can't make you believe wrestling was real, but I will damn sure make you believe that I'm real.
Oh, yeah, that's one of our expressions. Exactly. Yeah. Somebody would say, it all depends on how somebody poses a question to you, and I used to, when I was younger, I'd really get wound up about the question, come on, is that stuff all fake? Well, the answer used to be, well, there's one way you could find out.
Yeah, right.
There's one way you can find out if it's fake,
I'll put you in the ring and I'll show you.
So,
I got a quick question for you.
A classic, absolutely.
I got a quick question for you, Davey. Who did you work for over in Japan? Did you work for Baba or were you working for Inoki?
I actually worked for both of them.
Okay.
I made 3 trips for Baba, and I made 2 trips for Inoki.
Awesome. Now, what was it like over there compared to American fans?
Well, first of all, wrestling is the national sport in Japan.
It sure is.
They're talking about sumo, and then there's not too much crossover there. But those fans are really passionate.
Yep.
But you'd be surprised. You could go in there, and I really don't remember ever being in front of a small crowd in Japan. I mean, every night the places were packed, and not because of me, the people that were there with me, including Andre and Mass Superstar was there, and Dick Murdoch, who was great to watch. I mean, there's so many guys that we went with, but the fans during a match would sit politely and clap if they liked something.
I was going to ask you, Davey, about that. Bruno told a story once about his first trip to Japan, and he thought he did something wrong because no one in the audience cheered or screamed. They all sat there and, politely applauded.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because my first trip to Japan in, I think it was 74, I was sent by Bruno. Bruno sent me to Japan.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about it. I was kind of new in the business still what we call the punk. And I said to Bruno, are you sure that I'll be okay over there? Do I know what I'm doing enough? Can I handle this? He said, you're going to be fine. He said, don't panic when you do one of your high spots if anybody just stays quiet or giggles or laughs. He said, what do you mean laughs or giggles? I said, I'm a heel. I don't clown around.
Right.
I do it all, and when none of us in those days ever did anything that we called the cartoon. We were dead serious. Don't make a joke about what I do for a living.
Well, we're actually going to talk a lot about that later on, and I'm glad that you broached the subject, because that's something I feel really strongly about. Really strongly.
Danny, I got a quick question for you. Do you have any infamous Andre drinking stories? Everybody tends to have them if they ever hung out with them. Do you have any?
You see that? I don't know if you're on a different mic or a different connection there.
Yeah, Andre drinking stories.
Oh, Jesus. Boy, you never saw anybody put away stuff like he did. I mean, and oh, God. He'd say, come on, boss, don't go to sleep now. I said, don't go to sleep, man. I can't even stand up, sit up straight. I saw Andre, and when he was in the New York territory, his babysitter was Arnold Skolin. And Frank Valois when Frank was around.
Yeah.
And so we did TV one night in Allentown, and we all used to stay at a place on the way up to Hamburg in Reading called the Lincoln Motor Inn.
Yes.
And in the lobby, to walk up to the desk, there were 2 steps, just 2 steps, very long steps, the width of the room. And the next day, there was some kind of ladies auxiliary having a demonstration or something, and they had all their tables set up in the lobby with their baskets on them and all kinds. It was really nice. There was flowers and ribbons and presents all over. And Andre and Arnold walked in. I was sitting in the lobby in a chair, and Andre stepped up 2 steps. When he got on the top step, I guess it was time to faint or pass out from drinking, and he started falling like a building fell backwards. And took out about 5 of these tables.
Oh, man.
It was like an explosion, man. There was stuff from the ladies.
I've heard that story.
So anyway, we kind of scooped them up, a bunch of us, and Pedro said, he says, "Don't worry, baby, I'll bring them up to the room." And we got Pedro, who wasn't too shy about drinking either.
Yeah.
And we got them in the elevator, and they got up there, and Pedro got Andre to the room and opened the door. And as they opened the door opened into the room, and Andre started to pass out again, except he passed out right on top of Pedro.
Oh, dear.
And they were laying in the little short hallway by the bathroom going into their room.
Oh, my
and
God.
Pedro couldn't move him. Andre was almost 500 pounds.
Right.
And what happened was Pedro happened to see the phone wire attached to the baseboard, and he was able to reach and rip it off the wall and pull the phone to him. And he called the desk, and he said, "You got to send some of the guys up here. I can't get out from underneath them." Yeah.
I got to ask you, did you ever face Ivan Koloff when you were during your run?
Colorado Springs, and when we left, we used to go from Colorado Springs to Albuquerque. It's about a 300-mile ride, 250, 300, something like that.
Yeah.
And we would stop and get sandwiches and beer to make the trip.
Yeah.
And it was myself, Bruiser Brody, Andre, and Frank Valois.
Ah, yeah.
So, I had my car. I had just bought a new 76 Coupe de Ville. And so I pulled up. I said, "Big man, stay here. I'll go get the beer and the sandwiches." So I ran in. Now, don't forget, there's 4 of us in the car, and we're driving. I ran in. I got the sandwiches. I got to the window where Andre opened the passenger window because he always sat in the front because he couldn't get in the back.
Right.
I handed him the beer. I got in the driver's seat, and he looked at me and said, "What's the matter? You're not drinking, boss?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "You only bought 1 case of beer."
Oh, God.
I said, "Well, crap, there's 4 of us here. I'm driving." He just shook his head, "No." He said, no good. Back in for another case of beer. So I went back in and got another case of beer. And we eventually made it to Albuquerque.
Unbelievable. Now, I know Jeff has a question for you, Davey.
Did you ever work with Ivan Koloff when you were in the WWF or any of the territories?
No, I never. You know what? I might have worked with him once when I was on my way back from Kansas City when I was first coming to New York, and he wasn't Ivan Koloff yet. He was Red McNulty.
Yeah.
He was Red McNulty. He was one of the most wonderful guys in the business. He was a pleasure to be around. He was a great worker in the ring. He was always in good shape.
I have to tell you.
He was a dear friend.
I have to tell you that Ivan, we call him Uncle Ivan, was a very, very close personal friend of Jeff the Ref here. In fact, so Jeff, you want to talk a little bit about Ivan?
Oh, I mean, me and Ivan, me and him, we developed a friendship. I mean, I refereed a couple of his matches, and he enjoyed having me as his referee. So a lot of times he would give me indie gigs just because he would say he wanted me to be his referee. And then we developed such a friendship to where I mean, I was able to like pick up the phone, call him any day of the week, any night, whatever, that kind of deal. And he was just super, super nice. And I mean, if he knew I had my buddies over watching a pay-per-view
together, yeah, I do. He's, unfortunately, a lot of my friends are gone. Some of it due to the life we led. But yeah, he was. If you make a list of decent guys in the business, and this is not. I don't mean ask the fans because they really don't know.
Right.
A lot of the fans, think the baby faces are the really nice guys. I got some news for them.
Right.
The case, but personalities are personalities, whatever they are. But Ivan was one of the finest people that I had the pleasure of getting to know.
Let's talk about some people that I know, that you know. Of course, we're of that age now where we can look back and reflect. Talk to me about people like David Von Erich and Manuel Soto, Johnny Rods, Pistol Pete Sanchez.
David Von Erich, I knew casually. David Von Erich's only Madison Square Garden appearance, I believe, was against me.
You're absolutely right, Davey.
Yeah, but I didn't know David very well. I knew his father because I worked in Texas.
Right.
And actually, I got fired from Vince Sr. The night that I worked with David Von Erich in the Garden. Because,
what happened there?
I had a kind of a stupid attitude about this wrestling stuff. And I had just come back from Texas. And I worked with Fritz a million times, and every single night I saw a claw.
Yeah.
It was in the Amarillo territory, so we would, like you just said, we'd loan back and forth, and I'd go back and forth.
Yeah.
But anyway, I came back up, and I saw that I was booked with David Von Erich in the Garden. So when Arnold Skolin came in to the dressing room, he said, Davey, he said, you guys are on fourth. He said, we're going to need about 12 minutes, and I'd like you to get David's hand up. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I can give you the 12 minutes. I said, we're not getting his hand up. I said, this is my territory.
You know what? Let's talk about that.
Well, I said, listen, this is on Madison Square Garden cable TV.
Yeah.
I said, it's Madison Square Garden, which at that point in my career, the Garden, it was the Garden, but it was just another arena for a lot of us.
Sure.
And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, what do you think happened every night I was in Texas when I worked with Von Erich? I knew what the deal was.
Yeah.
I said, so now we're in New York. I said, and I'm staying in his territory. I said, and you flew him in here for one shot. And Skolin says, oh, no, the old man's not going to like this. So I sat down. I had just finished lacing up my nice pink boots, and I started to unlace them. I said, tell you what you do. I said, tell Mr. McMahon, and that's what I always called him. I said, you can tell Mr. McMahon if he wants David Von Erich over, he can do it himself. And I started unlacing my boots.
Wow.
Arnold Skolin, who really was great to me. Arnold was a very special guy to me. Looked at me and went, Jesus Christ. And he walked out, and the next person that came through the door was Vince McMahon Sr. And he said, I can't believe what I'm hearing. He said, you're like family. I said, I'm like family? I said, well, this is really a strange way to treat the family. I said, if that's what we're doing. He said, Davey, don't you understand? I said, well, Mr. McMahon, what I understand is that his father is a promoter. Mine isn't. I said, so, I know how that goes. I said, I got to ask you while we're standing here, am I getting the same payoff that he's getting? So he took money out of his pocket, and he said, here you go, same payoff. I said, you flew him in here. I said, did you pay my trans to get here? He said, well, goddamn, what was your trans? I said, well, the Jersey Turnpike was $1.60. I said, and the Lincoln Tunnel was, I think it was $1 each way or something like that.
Oh my God!
He said, "Wow, Jesus Christ, here you go." He says, "Man, now are we straightened out?" I said, "Well, we got that part straightened out." I said, "Now the part in the ring," I said, "we can do a double count out." I said, "Or we could do a strong DQ." I said, "But not in the middle. He's not putting me in the middle."
Why was he so insistent that Von Erich go up?
Well, you know what, David? Don't forget the relationship between the big promoters.
True, this is true.
And David, I found out later, was being groomed to get the NWA championship.
Ah, yeah, okay, it all makes sense now.
Now, the other side of that is that I was really stupid because I had that attitude for a little while like that I'm thinking to myself, well, this isn't good for business. Well, what the hell do I know about business? You know, wrestler. And here I'm trying to tell Vince McMahon what's going on. What I should have done was, because David, by the way, was the best worker in that family.
No question about it. I agree wholeheartedly.
So what would have really been good for me, and I didn't figure this out until I was almost finished with the business, is I should have had a fantastic match with this guy. I should have tore the house down with him, and that would have been better for me. It would have been better for me. But you know, I had this. You see, I have a pretty strong union background, and you know, I always had that union card in my pocket. So it made me a little bit obstinate sometimes, and I'm really sorry about that now. You know, well, not now, it's too late now. But,
right.
You know, I should have caught on to that a little sooner than I did.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
And the other side of that is, you know, I worked with Johnny Rods in the Garden one night.
Yes.
You know, Johnny's a very dear friend. Johnny and I went 30 minutes. We went 30 minutes in the Garden, never out of the ring once, never took a rest. And the next day, the New York Post Sports Editorial covered Johnny and I.
That was February 15th, 1982.
Holy crap, I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Now, I got a quick question for you.
David was a good worker. You know, unfortunately, he met an early demise, but, you know, that seems to run in his family. You know, not the same way for all of them. But, yeah, David, Johnny Rods I worked with a million times. You mentioned Pete Sanchez. You know, now Pete really doesn't talk to any of us anymore. Don't ask me why. You know, we're never sure what personality is going to show up with Pete.
Gotcha.
But Pete was one of the best workers in the business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now,
Best workers in the business. The guy was fantastic.
He was one of the early high flyers, too, we should point out.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what else. Pete was the youngest guy in the history of wrestling to hold an NWA championship. He had an NWA tag belt, I think in the Ohio territory, when he was about 16 or 17 years old.
wow.
Oh yeah, the guy's got a great mind for the business. You know, we were very close. We were very close. Johnny, myself, Pete, Jack Evans, Manny Soto. But Pete doesn't talk to any of us anymore, and none of us know why. You know.
Now, Davey, you were in the territory when a couple of young upstarts came in, hailing from the Big Apple, New York City. A couple of guys named Luscious Johnny and Handsome Jimmy Valiant.
Oh yeah.
Talk to me about the introduction of the Valiant brothers.
You know what? I think they were the hottest tag team ever.
I agree.
They gave the people everything they wanted. They had the razzle dazzle, man. They did great promos. They were really good to work with in the ring. They had the look. You know, it wasn't the superstar Billy Graham look all juiced up. You know, these guys guys were really good workers, and
Yeah.
and the reason they were is they were both territory guys.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy more than Johnny. Johnny
Right.
broke in with Bruno out in Pittsburgh, and
Yeah.
hit those territories, and then Bruno had a lot to say in Indiana, in the Indianapolis territory. He and Bruiser were partners on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So Johnny got a lot of work there, and when Johnny first came, he was another guy that I watched as a kid, John L. Sullivan.
That's true. He worked under John L. Sullivan and Thomas Sullivan, which is his real name, his shoe name.
Yeah, exactly. And they were the hottest tag team I've seen here in a long time. And when I say hot, I mean they appealed. They were the kind of heels that the fans loved.
Yeah, I want to tell you though, Davey, we have Jeff and I have Jimmy coming on the show January 21st.
Oh, really?
I would love for you, and I would like to get a commitment from you now. I would love for you to do a run-in on that show.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Fantastic. All right, I'm gonna book you for that one.
All right, now I got a quick question.
I worked with Jimmy one time. I think it was in Harrisburg.
Yes, it
I think
was.
it was in Harrisburg, and we had a hell of a match. I mean, the guy is a master.
1977, June.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
I love working with Boogie myself.
A pleasure to be around. A great guy.
I love Boogie. I've known Boogie for almost 30 years.
Right.
And what a sweetheart of a guy. I'm going to tell you what, that you want to talk about, between you and him, the road stories could fill up a steamer trunk.
Boy, you're not kidding.
Man. Well, let's talk about a mutual friend of ours, and that's the late, great living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, boy.
Now,
Oh,
in addition to being Bruno's friend, you were also his opponent on many, many occasions. And, and as you pointed out earlier, there wasn't anybody who didn't love Bruno.
No, you're not kidding. Listen, I saw Bruno win the belt from Buddy Rogers in the Garden. I was a fan, and I went to see it. So just think how it was for me when I got to be in the business and be Bruno's friend and be one of his peers. Bruno and I, I miss him so much. I think about him all the time. We talked every 2 weeks on the phone.
Right.
After we were done, every holiday we would talk. Right to the end. And as a matter of fact, right before he passed, I was talking to Dominic, and Dominic said, "Yeah, I was at the hospital a couple of days ago," and I said, "What's going on?" Dominic said, "Something's wrong. Something's up." And I said to Dominic, "Call me and let me know exactly what's going on."
Right.
So, and if I'm not mistaken, it might have been a Sunday, but I don't remember what day. The phone rings, and it's J.J. Dillon. And I said, "James," listen, something's going on in Pittsburgh. And I said, "You know what? Let me call Dominic back. I talked to him 2 days ago. Let me call him." He didn't give me a call back yet. And Dillon kept trying to interrupt me. And he said, Davey. I said, "What?" I said, "Jimmy," I said, "I'll call you right back." I said, "Let me find out." He said, "Bruno passed this morning." Oh boy. I couldn't say any more words to Dillon. I just said to him later, I hung the phone up. My wife walked into the living room where I was sitting, and she could see I was already in tears and choked up. And she said, "What?" And I just kind of mouthed the name Bruno to her. She knew him. This was our little work group here.
Yeah.
We were, he was so good to me. I would have never gotten to Japan without him. And I'll tell you a story that I really have not told to anybody. When Bruno was going through his negotiation to accept his induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. You know, a lot went into that. That took a couple of years.
Oh yeah, sure did.
To get straightened out. Well, prior to that, I talked Bruno into coming up to Amsterdam, New York, to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. The real Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yes.
That was up in Amsterdam. And for a while, Bruno thought that Vince was involved. And I said, Bruno, listen, I never told you a lie. You know I wouldn't do that. Because if you did that to Bruno, you were scratched right out of the book, man.
Oh, yeah,
you were done
for
with
sure.
him. You were done. I said, Bruno, he's not involved. This is the real deal. So anyway, Bruno said, I'm coming up because you're telling me it's okay. Bruno came up, and I got to do his induction. Which for somebody that was a fan of Bruno, I could have died the next day and I would have been a happy guy. That would have been it. But anyway, after it was over, I got home from Amsterdam at 8 o'clock at night. About 8:30, my phone rings, and the TV screen says San Martino. And my wife looks at me and says, well, what did you do now? You know, are you in trouble for something? I said, oh, shit, I don't know if I'm in trouble for something. But anyway, Bruno thanked me for the induction. Later, he told me that when they finally made their agreement with the WWE, he wanted me to do that induction.
I heard that story.
And Triple H said okay. Except Vince Jr. had already made an agreement with Arnold to do it.
Right.
I said, Bruno, are you kidding me? He said, no. He said, I like the one you did so much. He said, I really wanted you to do that. And I'm so flattered and emotionally touched by that. You know, this is, you know, he used to say to me, Davey, it's Bruno when he called. I say, I'm Bruno. I say, you don't get it, man. You're Bruno. I'm just plain old Davey. That's it.
That's the way I felt whenever I would have any talk, whenever I would talk with Uncle Ivan Koloff. I would always feel that same way. It was like, no, you don't realize you're Ivan Koloff. You know, I'm just some little schmuck referee. You're Ivan Koloff. You know, you beat Bruno in the garden. But I know with the WWE Hall of Fame, part of Bruno getting in, he had a deal worked out where Ivan was supposed to get in on the coattails of it. That's another story that I do not like to go into, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean you've talked about it on the show before, Jeff. So
well, I mean,
what happened here?
Well, basically, what it was Bruno had asked. He had said, you know, part of him wanting to go in was he wanted Ivan to be allowed to go in as well, and they promised Bruno that they would put him in, but they didn't want Ivan to get overshadowed by the year that Bruno got inducted. So they said the following year they had put Ivan in. The following year, they needed to get the tape library from Puerto Rico. So they make the deal to get the tape library from Puerto Rico. Carlos Colon goes in. Ivan Koloff doesn't get the bid, and he hasn't gotten a look since.
Yeah. Oh boy. You see, that's just another example of Bruno reaching out to help people.
Right.
And he did it for so many people, and you know he got screwed around by so many people that he trusted.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I can't even tell you how many thousands of dollars he lent to people and gave to people. And
you know what? We've heard those stories on the show before. We've actually had people on here talk about Bruno's generosity, almost generous to a fault. He was very trusting of people.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Davey, can you tell me, and maybe I'm prying a bit, and you can tell me to shut up if you want, but I really want to know about Bruno's relationship with Senior.
Well, you know what? It was really a very business-like relationship. Bruno held the strings with that one. Because he was so important in this territory. He was so important in this territory that Vince Sr. knew he couldn't screw with Bruno. He tried. He tried a few times. But
Yeah.
let me tell you something. Let me tell you, it would have never worked for him if Bruno would have walked away or Bruno went somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, Bruno knew where he could go. Bruno was very close with Sam Muchnick
Yes.
in St. Louis. He was very close with Frank Tunney, who's the guy who really gave Bruno life again after McMahon Sr.
Yeah.
blackballed him.
Frank Tunney from Canada, right?
Yes. Toronto. Well, all of Canada, but yeah. So Bruno was so well respected. And it was because he was an honest guy. Bruno was what you see is what you get. Bruno was an honest guy, and he was well liked. Bruno never looked down his nose at anybody. He never intentionally hurt anybody's feelings, and he was smart for the business. He was smart. He knew what was going on. If he saw people getting taken advantage of, he spoke up, and he had such a position that he was able to speak up and not get hurt. I saw him tell Vince Sr. How to pay guys.
Yeah, he pretty much led to Larry Zbyszko getting, his big break, because Zbyszko said, had it not been for Bruno going to bat for him, Senior was about ready to put him out on his can.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Larry, I haven't seen Larry in years. Larry's a friend of mine. Larry's a good worker in the ring. But without Bruno, Larry's just another one of the guys.
Yeah.
I got a quick question for you. Danny, I got a quick question for you. A name that I have seen you associated with is Dennis Stamp, who many people may remember from the Beyond the Mat movie, and him saying he wasn't going to work for Bret Hart because he wasn't booked.
Yeah.
He was my tag team partner. He and I had the Western States tag team titles. Yeah, I spent months and months with Dennis. Dennis was a fantastic hand in the ring.
Yeah.
He seemed a bit of a character, a little eccentric.
A little eccentric? Dennis was a crackpot. He was a cool
Crackpot.
Listen, I got to Amarillo, whatever day I got there, I pulled in, and some of us stayed in a place called the Center City Motor Inn. So I pull into the Center City Motor Inn after, coming from New Jersey, and, I made my calls. There were no cell phones then. I still don't use a cell phone hardly, but there were no cell phones. So, I went to the office. I got myself a room, explained to them that I'll be living here. I did. And the guy says, well, yeah, one of your friends is right next door to you. So I went over. It was Dennis. He was sitting out in front. I introduced myself. I had never met him. So we talked for a little while. And I said, all right. I said, where's the arena? Where are we going? I think it was a Thursday night. So we were working in Amarillo at the sports arena. Now I didn't work that first night. I wasn't set yet. So I rode over with him. But later, the next day, he says, come here, I want to show you something. I said, what? So he brings me into his room, and he's got a pyramid hanging from the ceiling. I said, well, what in the world is that? Now, years ago, you guys might have heard about the power of pyramids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis Stamp believed in the power of pyramids. So he had a pyramid hanging over his hotel room bed. He had a pyramid on the dresser that he would keep fruit under. He said, you never have to refrigerate fruit. If you keep it in the pyramid, it's going to be fresh forever.
Wow.
We were in damn Amarillo, Texas. It was 500 degrees. Wait a minute. He picked up the pyramid, and he had peaches under there. I think one of them had a face on it. It was so nasty looking.
Oh, my God.
I said, you're not going to eat that stuff. Oh, yeah, it's still good for you. He says, and wait till you have sex under the pyramid. He said, it's going to be the best thing you ever did.
Oh, dear God.
I said, okay, Dennis, well, I'm right over in that next room. If anything else interesting goes on, you just let me know. So Dennis We rode together. After a few weeks, they put the tag belts on us, and we were on the road together a lot. And then he and I traded back and forth the Texas Brass Knuckles title. We had that, and then Dennis was a good guy. Dennis was a good guy, had a good mind for the ring. He was a tough guy. He was a real good shooter. He was a real good shooter. He could handle himself, but he was eccentric times 10.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you really quick. The Brass Knuckles title wasn't that held under like a different set of rules?
Yeah,
like a hardcore.
They call it tape fist. You tape your fists.
Right.
And there was no pin or anything like that. It was a fight. Yeah, you went out there and you went until like a Texas death match.
Right.
Okay.
You went until somebody couldn't go, whether they gave up or were counted out or something like that. But you weren't trying to pin or submit somebody. It was always pretty much a bloody mess. The fans loved it. The Brass Knuckles thing was big. We actually had the belt that was worn by Dory Funk Sr.
Oh, okay.
Dory Funk Sr.
For the record, the longest Texas death match was 3 hours and 48 minutes.
Jeez.
With Dory Funk and, of all people, his brother, Terry Funk.
Is that right?
That happened in Amarillo.
Oh, yeah.
3 hours and 48 minutes. Two brothers going at it.
Yeah, great. Two great workers. You can't get any better than that. Can't get better than that. That's fantastic.
Do you have any good Terry Funk stories out there? Because Terry is he's like stretched across generations as far as like the fans that know him and recognize who he is. All he did is ECW days. So, do you have any good Terry stories?
I lost you again there for a second. I just lost the second half of your statement. I'm sorry.
He wanted to know if you had any good Terry Funk stories.
Oh, Terry. Jesus. Yeah, you know what? The one good one, Terry, Dennis, and I, on the same night that Inoki and Ali had their match, it was satellited into a lot of arenas as a co-feature to whoever was in the arena live. And I think we were working, might have been Albuquerque that night. Usually Albuquerque was on a Sunday, but Albuquerque, the arena, was a big place. It looked like a small version of the Garden. So I think they switched it that night. But anyway, Terry, Dennis, and I were on our way back, and because of the time difference, we wanted to hustle back to see what we could catch of this show. Anyway, we're in the car, and Terry's in the back seat, and Dennis, bless his heart, really liked to smoke weed. He was. I used to think he was going to bleed to death through his eyes sometimes. He was unreal. So anyway, Dennis was a little mad because he didn't have anything. I never smoked. I don't like smoke stuff. I didn't like guys in my car that smoked cigars, pipes, or stuff like that. It just bothered me. But anyway, Dennis was in a little bit of a mood because he didn't have anything. And anyway, Terry pulled out a blunt that was about the size of a Cuban cigar. So now Dennis is in a good mood, and Terry says to me, he says, Davey, you got to get going a little faster here, man. We're going to miss this show. I said, well, I'm going as fast as I can go. He said, no, take this road. Now we're in Texas. We're finally getting back toward Amarillo there. I said, which way? He says, no, just go down. There's a town called Happy, Texas. He says, just cut off here. He says, take this road. He says, You never see any cops. It's a nice open road, not a problem. He said, and I know everybody around here anyway, and I'm driving about Warp 3, we're going to Terry's house, actually, in Canyon. We're going to Terry's house, and in about 30 seconds of being on this road, I look in the mirror, and here's a Texas Highway Patrolman behind me.
Jesus.
I said, well, you son of a bitch, look at this. I pull over, the guy walks over to the car. He says, from New Jersey, huh? Oh, yes, sir. He said, you know how fast you're going? No, sir. And I started to say, but in the back seat is Terry Funk. The only guy more popular than Terry Funk in Texas might have been Sam Houston, but I had Terry Funk in the car, and I looked, and Terry is pretending that he's sound asleep, covered with a jacket.
Oh, shit, I love it.
I said to him, wake up, you son of a... He wouldn't even move. The guy said, well, you know what? Why don't you just follow me? And I had to follow him to the magistrate's house.
Oh,
the guy gets out. He wakes the guy up. He's in his pajamas. He puts a little jacket on. He comes to his office. He writes me out a summons for $55. So I think, I'm from New Jersey. Yeah, give me this thing. I'll mail it to you. No, you're not mailing. He says, you can pay me right now or you can stay here. I said, you know who Terry Funk is? Yeah, I know who Terry Funk is. He's one of them wrestlers. I said, yeah, he's right in the back of the car. He says, oh, yeah, sure. He says, sure. Lyndon Johnson's in my closet. He says, $55 is what you're paying me, or you're going to stay here, you and that big New Jersey Cadillac of yours. Oh, shit. Okay, I gave him the $55. I came back in the car, and Terry was laughing so hard. I said, okay. That's it, Terry. I owe you one, man. I owe you one. Go this way. We took out finally, and before we settled down to watch the show, he's showing me around his house, and he brings me into his bedroom, and on his dresser, he has a rattlesnake. It's all coiled up, and it looks like it's in striking position, but of course, it's a bit of a taxidermist, so it's not real. It was real at one point, but now it's just all stuffed. And I walked over and I said, holy crap, look at this. Well, he had a little switch on the wall that made it rattle.
Oh,
and
that's wild.
I almost peed my pants. 2 in the night for you. I said, you gotta be kidding me. Terry's, I owe him a phone call. He's not doing really well. He's kind of sick. And since he lost his wife, things are a bit harder for him.
Yeah.
Terry was a really special guy. Easy guy to be around. Great guy for the business. Now,
Davey, when you're working this Texas territory, did you ever work with Gary Hart, Playboy Gary Hart, or Gino Hernandez?
No, I never did. The only contact, I didn't know Gary Hart at all. He mostly stayed in Dallas. When I was in and out of Dallas or in and out of Houston, mainly in the Amarillo territory, the only contact I had with Gino Hernandez was when he came in to do a few TV shots in New York. And I was back in New York, and I remember sitting in the old Philadelphia arena. Right. Our little clique was sitting there with Bruno and Johnny Roz and Danucci and Mike Cicluna, and a few of us were sitting around there waiting to see what we were doing. And Gino Hernandez comes in, and he's got the United States belt that they gave him in Detroit. And he says to us, just so you guys know, he says, I don't know any of you here. I do have the strap in Detroit, so I'm not a new guy. Well, he came, Bruno was sitting there. I don't know any of you guys here. Oh my God, St. Peter knows who Bruno is. What are you kidding? Jesus. You gotta live on Pluto. You don't know. But anyway, he was working with Johnny Rods that night. And Johnny told Vince Sr., not this time, Vince. Not this. Now, Johnny put him over, but Johnny lit him up. Johnny lit him up.
I was going to say they made him humble, didn't they?
Oh boy, Gino had a bit of an attitude, and again, I don't know him. And never got close to him. Was never around him a lot. But he was working with Johnny, and Johnny was pretty much the guy that when somebody new came into the territory, that's who you had to report to.
Yeah, you had to go through Johnny. They basically, if you went through Johnny Rods, you had a job.
Exactly right.
He checked off on you then if you were okay to work. He checked off on you to make sure you're okay to get in there and work, right? Johnny did.
Yeah, well, you know what? Back then, the first thing you checked out is if somebody had a bad attitude. If somebody had a bad attitude, you didn't cooperate with them.
Yeah.
You didn't cooperate with them, and you could, it's really easy to make somebody look bad. It's really easy, in those days. No matter if you were a relatively new guy, most of the time the old timers would watch your match. They'd watch to see because they want to know maybe what's in store for them at some point. So they'd take a peek at you and see what's going on. Now, if you had a good attitude and if you had a half a brain in your head, and somebody walked over to you like Mulligan or Lanza and said, "Hey kid, do you mind if I give you some constructive criticism?" Well, the answer is absolutely yes. Please do. Right. And they would take you into the shower and they'd show you something. Don Jardine did it for me. Mulligan did. I mean, a lot of guys. George Steele, a whole lot of guys. And then in turn, I did it for other guys. You see, so what you did was you had a guy like Johnny would check your attitude too.
Yeah, we heard stories here on this show, Davey, about George Steele. And you mentioned his name, George the Animal Steele. It's been said, and I have no proof. It's been said that he was a stooge for Vince Sr.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He was not a stooge. He just worked for the office.
Okay.
And just so you know, that was part of the joke. George used to say that himself. George didn't. If there was a guy that hadn't seen George, they'd say, "George, what do you do?" I remember Mike Secluda Mike and I were someplace, and Mike had seen George maybe 15 years before and hadn't seen him. And Mike said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And George said, "I'm a stooge for the office." It was just a joke. It was just.
Well, yeah, the people were kayfabing it like it was, like a real deal.
No, George wasn't a stooge. George was a good, honest guy. He was great for the business. I knew him for a long time. He and I were also really close. I spoke to him the day before he passed away.
Wow.
As much as I could speak, I was hysterical on the phone. And he said to me, "Calm down, David." He said, "Everything is okay." I said to him, "Well, I wish I could come down there right now and give you a hug." He said, "Well, you just did with the phone call." He said, "I saw everything already, and it's going to be okay."
Yeah,
be okay.
We heard the story here on the show involving superstar Billy Graham and Bruno conspiring to screw over Vince Sr. if he had put the belt on Bob Backlund, which he promised Backlund the belt. And if you knew Vince Sr. as well as you did, you knew that once the man gave you his word, it was bond.
Oh, yeah.
How close did Bruno and superstar Graham really come to basically hijacking the company?
Well, you know what? I'd be telling you a lie if I told you I knew that. Because I don't. I know that Billy really, really did not want to drop the strap to Backlund.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy and I were friendly, and we were together a lot. And I remember him on more than one occasion saying to Vince, "Anybody but him. Anybody."
Yeah. Wow.
You know what we heard? Yeah.
Why was that?
didn't want to do that. Now was Bruno involved? You know what? I sort of doubt it, but again, I don't know. You know, Bruno and Billy had a good business relationship, but Billy was not one of Bruno's favorite guys, only because of the life Billy led.
Yeah, we heard that as well.
Oh yeah, well that's a fact.
Yeah.
That I can tell you because it came out of Bruno's mouth to me.
Wow.
So, you know, Billy did what he had to do, or what he thought he had to do to be successful. Bruno was an old school guy.
Yeah.
Bruno was an old school guy, man, and you couldn't convince him of anything different when he had his mindset to it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I'll tell you what, this has been one of the fastest hours of this show.
Oh, yeah.
I will definitely, I'm going to have to bring it back for a part 2, Davey.
Anytime you want.
I'm going to have to we're definitely going to do a run-in on Jimmy Valiant. We're going to do that for Boogie.
I'd be thrilled. You got my number. You just call and let me know what I need to do.
You got it.
It'd be a pleasure. It's my pleasure. I'm flattered that you guys would want to spend any time with me.
Oh my God! Of course.
I appreciate it. If I help out, you just give a holler and let me know.
One of the reasons, and I didn't even get into go into this on the show tonight. I have to do a part 2. Is, you know, one of the things I wanted to talk about, one of the reasons I wanted you here was to talk about, you know, the respect in the business, the respect for the business, the art of psychology. Why is it not being used? These are like a million questions I had that we haven't even begun to broach. But so I have to bring it back for a part 2. But tonight we have other housekeeping to do. So I am going to say goodbye to you, Davey, and wish you well and your family on this holiday season, and have a great Christmas.
And you guys do the same. I look forward to speaking to you again, and thanks very much for taking the time with me.
Thank you so much, everybody. Davey O'Hannon, thanks so much, Davey.
Thank you, Davey.
Guys, bye-bye.
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 Great conversation with.
It was. He gave us a wealth of stories that I honestly, me, myself, had not heard really told anywhere else.
Breaking news. Stop there. Stop the presses.
Go.
As we speak, I am getting confirmation that wrestling photographer Scott Romer will be on the show.
Okay.
And Pam Allen. Now, you may not know that name, but Pam Allen is the daughter of the legendary dean of pro wrestling, Gordon Soley.
Awesome.
And we have Gordon Soley's daughter is going to join us on the show.
I'll tell you what, we have this coming year, we have a host of guests and that are just lining up already. January and February are looking quite busy for us.
Full.
I mean, it's you know, and I'll tell you what. And real quick, shout out to our guys up there. With
Farrow.
Yeah, they
to Jimmy Farrow and Mike Monty.
Yes,
you guys.
Yeah, you got everybody. Go give them a watch on their YouTube channel.
You have to. Monty and the Farrow are. They are the frickin' frack to my peanut butter and jelly.
they have probably one of the best interviews that you would see with Billy Jack Haynes, I would say.
That was really compelling because Billy Jack, I think for the first time in a very long time, actually did an interview seriously where he didn't go crazy into conspiracies. And kept it, and he didn't try to kayfabe anybody.
No.
And he kept it real and he kept it honest, and I really appreciated that. So shout out to, if you're out there anywhere listening, shout out to Billy Jack Haynes.
Oh, yeah.
love to have you on the show sometime if you're hearing this.
Now, and this Thursday, just to remind everybody, this Thursday coming up, we do have
big surprise, Jeff. I want you to handle this announcement. Go ahead.
I will. I'll be glad to handle it. An ECW legend, as they call him, an ECW original, now working for the new NWA Power for their coming season. Mr. C.W. Anderson himself is going to be here on with us this Thursday night. Very special guest, very special time. I mean that's gonna, I think, are gonna wrap us up for the year. Is having CW, and then we're gonna take us a couple weeks off to recoup a little bit. And
yeah, we will not be broadcasting over Christmas.
Nope.
Or over New Year, but
unless something is really late breaking, or we get that one guest that happens to want to come on. But
you know, I got a couple things going on. I want to let you know about, let everybody know about.
Yeah.
We're going to start 2020 with a bang. We are going to hit social media, and I mean we're going to body slam it. So we're going to talk about the impact and effect of social media on wrestling and vice versa.
Oh yeah.
We've got the head of the Wrestling Fans Facebook page coming on the show to join us.
All right.
On January the 14th, we have, if I remember, we have Jason Nupp coming on, the collectible figure guy who everyone raved about. He's coming back for a part 2.
And
and that's Jeff's friend Jason.
Yep.
He's coming back to do a part 2 with us. Then it gets good, because just 2 days after we have Jason, we have an iconic figure in pro wrestling, a woman who has made quite a name for herself over the years.
Yep. Paved the road for a lot of women.
Roberts Bird, who you know, who you love as the inimitable baby doll.
The perfect kid herself.
Doing a very rare podcast appearance with us.
Yep.
I basically sell my soul to get her. I had to submit a DNA sample, do a criminal background check. I had to submit my mother's meatball recipe. I had, all of this, like I had to break the vault to give her all my secrets. But she finally agreed that she will do our show. So now,
it's going to be good.
That January the 16th, that show will drop January the 17th. Then a big one, a real big one, on January 21st. None other than Handsome Jimmy, the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant.
Yes, sir.
One half of the greatest tag team ever in pro wrestling, the Valiant Brothers. He will be with us live, and we got him for the whole show. And I mean, for the whole
that one a lot. I really am. He Boogie's a great guy. As me and you both have said, we put him over. He gets put over no matter what. He genuine, real as real could be, and just a great brother all the way around.
We love Boogie on this show.
Yeah.
If that's not enough, Jeff the Ref,
what else have we got?
Your boys are coming on. My boy Patch and Big Vinny the Fixer.
Yes, sir. Old school Empire.
They're coming on January the 28th.
That is going to be good.
They're going to be here again for the whole show. Just to let everybody know what's going on. In February, I got Cowboy Johnny Mantell.
There you go.
Got Rising Star, Ron the Shining Star, will be on February 11th. We are tentatively looking at February 18th for a very special one-on-one interview with Mrs. Barbara Goodish. Now, if you don't know who Mrs. Barbara Goodish is, let me just say Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
She is Mrs. Bruiser Brody, and she will join us for the entire show. Jeff and I will have that one-on-one interview with Barbara Goodish.
And that's in February.
That's looks like February 18th. Hasn't confirmed that date, but she has confirmed her appearance.
Okay. All right.
Working out the date and the time.
And well, I mean, I know that. And then there have been, we've been in talks with a few different people as well that as we get them confirmed, we will let our fans know who all we got. We have confirmed, we just got to firm up a date with him, is Mr. Electricity, Steve Regal.
Steve Regal, yes. Absolutely.
That one, I'm looking forward to myself. And a lot of people may not be familiar with him, but he was in the AWA. Him and Jimmy Garvin, he was Jimmy Garvin's tag team partner there, former AWA World Tag Team Champion, light heavyweight champion, and had a brief run with Crockett. And then he, as he said, he went and made his money, his quick money in the WWE. Yeah, got out.
And good for him. And he still has his wits about him. God bless him.
He does. You know, so he's you know, I'm looking forward to that one. Like I said, we just got to firm up a date and time and all that with him. So,
well, I shared something with Jeff earlier tonight that I can't take the deep dive into it, but I will say this. If it works out the way we want it to, we are going to have not only a not only our second WWE Hall of Famer, but a man who is beloved. I will just say that. Beloved in and out of the sport of pro wrestling.
Yes.
I can't say his name.
Nope.
On the air.
Nope.
Because I'm not going to jinx it. But I will just suffice to say, we'll keep you posted, and go to our Twitter and contact Jeff on Twitter at Wrestling Future.
Yes.
He takes care of our social media. He'll take care of that for you.
And if you got any questions coming up for Baby Doll or any of our guests for that matter, feel free to drop us a line on our Facebook or Twitter page, and we will ask.
Absolutely. And you can also reach us. I'm going to give them our email, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's wrestlingwiththefuture@yahoo.com. And that'll go directly to Jeff or I. And you can reach us both at Wrestling Future at Twitter, at Wrestling Future. Jeff and I both monitor that page as well. More so Jeff, because he's the social media guy. He is the guru after all. And I'll say, I want to give a quick shout out.
Go ahead.
To Dog Championship Wrestling.
Yes.
December the 28th. It's Holiday Star Wars at the Max Fit Sports Center in Glassboro, New Jersey.
Yep.
There will be an all-star card, among them Flying Brian Pillman Jr. I'll get my teeth to work right. Flying Brian Jr., J.J. Dillon, Breaker Morant, the Old School Empire, Daredevil Dave Dahl, who, by the way, will also be a guest on the show. They will all be there in action, and that is a food drive. So if you're going, please bring some canned goods with you or some boxed goods, non-perishables, that they can distribute to needy people. Also, I will be attending a show on January the 11th for Super Crazy Pro Wrestling in Philadelphia, where Ron Starr personally invited me.
Okay.
Promised me a ticket at the door. So there you go. One of the perks of doing the show, you get free tickets.
We'll get you to venture down here to Virginia for a Vanguard show one day.
Yes. Oh, let's do that. Plug Vanguard. What's coming up?
Well, we got a Vanguard's coming up on January the 4th. It is Saturday, the first Saturday of January. We are going to be at Windsor High School doing a benefit for their Windsor High School wrestling team. They are, I believe, 2 or 3 years into their wrestling. Like, they're brand new guys. So
new program.
Yeah, they're needing, uniforms and, equipment and everything to help them out. And so this is one way that we can help out the community. And, but appearing, we will have the one, the only Mr. Badass himself, Billy Gunn, who, current AEW coach, WWE Hall of Famer himself, Billy Gunn. He's going to be taking on the former VCW champion, Brandon Scott. And then also we will have Gino, and he will be taking on Ken Dixon. Gino is uprising and part of MLW, and that is going to be a fantastic night.
Yeah, it sure is. And I'm going to tell you what, the independent wrestling scene nationwide is really seeing a boom. And I don't want to understate that. It really is. It's seeing a boom.
Yep.
I think largely because now there's not just WWE. There are other products around that are springboarding off of NWA, AEW, Ring of Honor, even to some extent, Jeff, New Japan.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, right now is a great time, to be a fan. If you're a fan of wrestling, now is a great time to be one because it is, independents are out there, and I would encourage anybody to go to your local independent if you get a chance. Just because that's where you're going to see the future stars.
Absolutely.
So, not only the stars of yesterday, but you will see the ones that are rising on up there. So it's going to be.
We cannot close out a show without saying thank you and hello to our amazing, amazing sponsor, Al Forno Restaurant and Pizzeria. My buddy Nunzio. Nunzio, come sta? How you doing, brother? I love Nunzio. Listen, you walk into Nunzio's place, first thing that's going to hit you is the smell of fresh, hot bread. That's it, okay? Now you're in. Now you're hooked. Now you have to look at the menu, all right? Now you got to look. How this guy ended up in Virginia is beyond me. He should be in New York City somewhere.
He really should.
Now, I want to tell you where they're at. I'm going to give you the phone. I'm going to talk a little bit more because I get hungry every time I do this commercial. Okay? He's got the basic stuff. Spaghetti, meatballs, lasagna, cannelloni. He's got stuffed tortellini, seafood fried diablo. He's got seafood Alfredo. He's got fettuccine Alfredo. He's got vegetable primavera. He's got it. What you want it? This is Nunzio, all right? A guy like Nunzio, let me tell you something. With a name like Nunzio, there's nothing he can't cook, all right? Understand that. So if you're in the Norfolk, Suffolk, Virginia area, I want you to drive down to 1523 Holland Oak Road. Okay? 1523 Holland Road.
Yeah.
Suffolk, Virginia. All right? And I want you to talk to Nunzio and tell him Angelo sent you. You can also tell him that Metagon Jeff the Ref sent you. And give him a call. So you want a reservation, you want a table in the corner, no problem. They're going to aim to please you. 757-925-2829. That's Nunzio, and his whole family works there. It's truly a family-run operation. I know Jeff eats there probably once a week, like every Friday you eat there.
I do.
So if you go on a Friday night and you see a guy in the corner by himself hiding under the menu, so go see Nunzio at El Forno Pizza, 1523 Holland Road in Suffolk, Virginia. Jeff, if there's nothing else, my friend, I think we have reached another successful conclusion to a fabulous show.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, on behalf of Jeff the Ref, the Guru, this is Psychic Medium Angelo. Happy wrestling, everybody. My teeth just don't work. Happy wrestling, everybody.
And goodbye and Merry Christmas.
Good night. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. Welcome. This